YouTube, what's going on? So this is a little custom that I did a while back, and I've shown it. You've all seen it. I don't do a lot of diecast customs, and usually when I do, they're not they're not much. You know, I'm usually adding to the car, not tearing it down and redoing it. Like in this case, adding an awesome looking safari rack. By the way, if you haven't heard, Miho has gotten together with Johnny Lightning and they have retooled this casting. And I don't know if I don't think that's proper terminology because the casting itself didn't change. They have right now currently two different castings for the roof, for the top of the car. They have the truck top and then they have this soft top. Well, they have created a new tool for a hard top and they are bringing out in, it's either going to be October or November, a hardtop Land Cruiser with a safari rack. So I'm very curious to see how that's going to stack up to this one here. So, you know, it's one of the things I did. I took the rack off of a green light Volkswagen van. Took the light bar off of a Johnny Lightning Dodge Ram pickup truck. I took the shovel and pickaxe, which is on this side, off of a green light Dodge military truck. And then you can throw any spare tire you want in it. And then for the antenna, it's just a little piece of wire. And it's just all super glued except for the spare tires. This is not glued in there. So you can choose whether or not you want to have it in there. It looks like the ones that Johnny Lightning is doing, you know, it has a spare on the back, so you almost don't need an extra spare. Although if you're doing some hardcore stuff, it might be a good idea to have two spares, but then you're adding a lot of weight. What Johnny Lightning is doing is they are adding accessories in the top, like they have gas cans and stuff like that, which I think would be awesome. If I could find some scaled gas cans, I would totally make some customs with those. There's a few ideas that I have of some customs for that. But anyways, I like this. I think it came out pretty good. This is the second safari rack custom that I've done. The first one I did was a Racing Champions Ford Bronco, which I think that one came out really nice too. But I like the overall look of this better. And I don't really know why. Just personal preference, I guess. But I think they both look really good. So here, this is actually the same casting as the other one that, so I have this, and then as I just said, I did a Racing Champs Ford Bronco with a safari rack. Before I did the safari rack custom, a buddy of mine in Texas did a lift on it. He lifted this one also. He lifted all of my Broncos, except for the exclusive that I have. So this one here doesn't have a safari rack. I have the blue and white one that has, it basically looks just like this, and it has a safari rack. That one is just bone stock though as far as the paint goes. This is my newest custom, if you want to even call it that. It's really not. It's just a bunch of weathering. And I like the look of it. Although I don't think it's necessarily the look I was going for. I like the fact that it doesn't look new. You know, it's a 1980 Ford Bronco. By the way, this is a 1980 Toyota Land Cruiser. It's a BJ40. And then this is a 1984 Bronco. So, you know, theoretically, it's a 38-year-old truck. It's not going to look brand new. So, I weathered it. And I'll explain to you guys how I did it. A lot of you probably already know anyways. This was the second vehicle that I weathered. The third vehicle, I think, in my opinion, came out the best. So here we have a 1971 Nissan Skyline 2000 GTR, also known as the Hakoska Skyline. It's an M2 release. I have done an interior swap on this. This car came with a black interior, but I tossed the gray interior in there. Also, here's the red one with the gray interior. The red one comes with a stock base with the standard ride height, although this one here I have swapped out and put the lowered base on it. But essentially, though, as far as like the bodies of the car are concerned, these are how they come. They look, you know, brand new. But I really like the vintage racing look of this Skyline. Just real vintage graphics. And I have 3 of these. Or wait, yeah, I have 3 of them. So I thought, you know, that would be a good car to try that technique on. And it was the third car that I did, so I think by the time I got around to doing this one, I think I had the technique down much better. Like, I think if I were to do this one now, it would come out much better. Anyways, so here is the weathered Skyline. I think looks great. You know, this one here, you can see I got kind of aggressive with it. I think the hood came out great. This side is meh. This side is okay. But this car came out, I think, awesome. If you look at the rocker panel, the door jamb, you have the rust. And basically what I used was just pigment from Tamiya Weathering Master. And it's basically like a little makeup. That's what it looks like, is a little makeup container. And they have 18 different colors, and they're sold in little containers of 3 colors. And the colors that I chose was gunmetal gray, silver, and orange rust. And I didn't buy the Tamiya weathering powder to weather cars. It's not why I bought it at all. I bought it because of the new layout. I wanted to weather the bridge. I didn't want a brand new looking bridge on the layout, and I don't have an airbrush to give it a weathered effect. So the Tamiya Weathering Master, you can get at Hobby Lobby, and it's like $12, but then you can take your 40% off, so you can get it for like right around $7 or $8. And it's an oil pigment. There are warning labels all over it, though, so I don't know what's going on with it, but it says it's a flammable substance. It says not to get it on your skin or in your eyes. Don't breathe it in. Don't inhale it. Don't ingest it in any way. So I don't know what all that's about. It says it's known to cause cancer in the state of California, but then again, everything causes cancer in the state of California. So with all that said, it's really hard to weather these cars without getting it on your hands, unless you're using latex gloves, which I did not do. So I got it all over my hands, and it is quite messy. I got it all over the street here too. I have cleaned it up, but some of it did kind of weather the road, and honestly, I think it looks better. You know, I've actually thought about using it to weather the road on my new layout, but I don't think I'm going to because of the hazard aspect of it, and the road is going to be where the cars are, and there's going to be a lot of handling of the cars. So I don't think I'm going to use it to weather the road. I think I am going to weather the road, but I'm going to use chalk, I think. But you can't use chalk to weather a car because it won't bond to the car, and that's something else. This is the blank canvas that I had to start with. You can see it's got a nice layer of enamel on it. It's not very porous, so it's like with this one I started really heavy, and I think that's why it has that like look like it's overdone. With this one here, I started with just really light dusting of powder, and I just kept going over it, and then the more you get on that clear coat, the more powder starts to bond to it, and then the more you're able to layer it and manipulate it into the look that you're going for. But with all of that said, if you were to give the car a shot of a dull coat, like just even like a matte clear coat, you would get a much better bond. Or if you were to take a Q-tip with some acetone and just remove the clear coat and then work up from that, you would get a much better bond. But this is working with the clear coat, and you can see it made a massive difference in the appearance of the car. These two cars were the exact same color before I started it, and now they look like totally different colors. Even like definitely on camera, but even to the naked eye, they look like they are different colors. But I don't know. I just think this stuff is awesome. Now, the stuff is made for models. So it's made for like 1 to 24 scale tank models, 1 to 24 scale automotive models, even action figures. You can pretty much weather anything you want. The only thing I would recommend is don't weather anything that's going to be handled too much. Because when I go to pick this car up, it will transfer onto my fingers, and I'll have to wash my hands. That's the only downside to it. Now, if I were to take the body off and take all the little, the grill, and actually I may not have to, because if I left all of it on there and gave it a nice dull coat, it would probably dull it down and give it a better look, because I think the bumper here is almost too shiny. I would want it like real dull. But if I took the base off and I pulled the glass out, I could just give it a real light coat of like a matte clear coat, and that would lock it all into place, and then that would prevent it from transferring to your fingers every time you pick it up. But if you don't give it a clear coat of some kind, then it will transfer every time you handle it. It's not much. I mean, you probably can't even see from just handling it. There's not even enough on my skin to notice it, but it is there. But it's pretty cool. It's a really cool way to get a weathered look with minimal effort and minimal skill set. I did the tires on this too. You can see, they definitely look older. Maybe a little bit more weather rot to them. I don't know. I just think that looks so cool, man. I love the look, and I really wish that M2 See, M2, I think when they release their factory weathered cars, like, and they've done quite a few, I think they overdo it. Greenlight will either do a really good job or they will do an awful job, and most of the time it's an awful job. But sometimes they do a really good job weathering it, like the Dharma Volkswagen van from the film reel. That's a great weathering job. The new F100 from Supernatural, that is an awesome weathering job. But a lot of the stuff that they do is just awful because they will clear coat it, and you don't. If you're gonna have a weathered car, you don't want a shiny, glossy clear coat. And on this car here, there is a clear coat. You can definitely see it, but because of the application of the weathering pigment, it has more of a satin finish. It's not nearly as glossy as this. Like, you know, if you look at that hood compared to that hood. But I would love to see M2 release a car like this so that, you know, my fingers didn't get dirty every time I handled it. Auto World does, in my opinion, by far the best weathering in 1:64 scale. And the proof of that is the Dirty Christine, because that car is amazing. But none of the brands do enough of it. So, anyways, there's that. To kind of go back real quick on the subject of customizing, and I don't even know if I like calling it customizing, because this is definitely customizing. But even that, you know, I could see if people debated against that, I get that argument. It's more modifying, I think, than customizing. Because you're not really... I don't know, you're just changing what's already there. You're adding to what's already there. You're not like... I don't know. It's just very different to add a safari rack or to add a weathering effect than to strip the paint off and give it a new paint job with new graphics. Or a lot of people will strip the paint off and they will cut the car, or they'll add like massive fender flares. You know, there's some awesome stuff being done out there that is definitely more customizing than what I do. And I don't do a lot of it anyways. Here's another example. So I showed you guys this red. See, gotta love M2. Look at that. Out comes the grill. That is awesome. That's so typical. That just like proves my point that I've been hammering home at you guys for 2 years on this channel. Did you see that? I set the car down. Yeah, it might have slipped out of my fingers, but I mean, it barely hit the street and the grill just pops out. And that, my friends, is M2 for you. It's a shame, too, because this is one casting from M2 that I absolutely love. I'm a huge fanboy of the M2 Hako. But, you know, here it is with the black wheels. By the way, Auto Japan, you have 3 toolings. You have the Hako Skyline, you have the 510, and you have the 240Z. Every single Auto Japan release, with the exception of the 510s, because there's one of those has come out with yellow wheels, and then a couple of them have come out with chrome. But every single Hako and every single 240 has been released with black wheels. Every single one. There's no exception. Now, when you get into the auto kits, they did a Hako auto kit and they did a 240 auto kit. Those had gold and gray wheel options. But other than that, they've all been black. Even the Miho exclusives were black. So that is why I felt compelled to do this. which I think is a better look. Now, it is subjective. I'm sure a lot of people will like the black better. And I think the black looks good. But the reason I think this looks better is because I'm sick of the black. Because that's all we have is M2 Skylines with black wheels. So because of that, I think the chrome looks really good, especially with these steelies. And the way that the tip of the pen wasn't small enough to fit inside of that lip, so it left a chrome lip or a chrome ring, and I think that looks so much better than it would have looked had that all been filled in with chrome. I'm very happy with the result of the chromed wheels on this car. I think it looks excellent. I have thought about weathering one of these. If I do, it'll definitely be this one. But I might take that gray interior out of it first and throw it in there. I don't know. Anyways, so the reason I've made changes to these two is because I have 3 of each one of these. I have these 4 that are loose. And then I have these 2 that are in the package. This blue one is my second favorite Skyline that they've done. I like it better than the 2 Yokohamas that they did. I just really like it. I love that vintage racing look. And I like the red one a lot too. It's a great color for that car. But my number one favorite Hakko Skyline that M2 has released, I have it right here. I would never weather this car unless I had at least 2 more. But it's this one here. It's like a champagne silver color. Not quite silver, it's definitely a silverish color, but there is a hint of champagne in the color. And it's a super high gloss, a super high metallic paint with a super high gloss. And it looks so killer. It looks so high end. I mean, it doesn't even look like an M2. It's so nice because of that paint. And if you look, all the windows have the chrome trim, which, believe it or not, you don't get that on all of these Hakko Skylines. These 2 are perfect examples of that. So it's just a very clean overall look, and the silver exaggerates every curve of the car. You can see the surf line on the rear quarter panel, the rocker panel line. It just looks so good. My favorite thing about it, though, I think, is the fact that, number one, it has the stock stance. It's not the lowered stance, which I'm not a big fan of. Although I think of the 240Z, the 510, and the Hakko definitely looks the best with the lowered stance. But my favorite thing about this Hakko Skyline is the spoiler delete. I love that look on this car. As an avid collector of premium detailed import diecast, I've come across a lot of Kyosho Hakkos. I've come across the Konami. I know there's at least a couple other brands that I'm missing. The Dido. And you are hard pressed to find one that doesn't have a spoiler. It's like a 1970 Camaro or a second gen Trans Am, or even a Fox body Mustang. Try finding one that doesn't have a rear spoiler. Very hard to do, and I just think it makes this car look so good to not have that spoiler. So that's why I love this car so much. It's so far above and beyond M2. Like, to me, this looks like it could be a Kyosho. It just looks too nice to be an M2. And while it doesn't have opening doors, look at the definition in the door jambs. Not too much, but not to that point where it's not enough. It looks perfect. The paint that they chose for this car is perfect. Everything about it is pretty much perfect, except for that left taillight assembly just being a little bit tilted. If it weren't for that, this car is so on point. I love the black fender mount mirrors. That's something that they did early on, is all of these fender mirrors were being molded in white or gray plastic, and it looked so cheap. It was like you either got to paint those or you have to mold them in black. And they started to mold them in black. So anyways, that's my Hako story for the night. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are about the weathering stuff. I'll show you guys the bridge, obviously, as soon as the layout's done. I weathered the bridge before I did any of the cars. And I did the side of the bridge that's going to be facing away from the camera. I did that side first, and it's a good thing because it looks very bad. It just looks way overdone. So on the other side that is going to face the camera, I was very, very light and very, very subtle, and I think it looks awesome. So I'm excited about the layout. I'm going to try to get the grout laid down on it this weekend, and I'm going to order the static grass applicator, and then that should show up by Tuesday or Wednesday, and then I can start getting the grass down, and I can start putting the finishing touches on that thing. I think that layout's going to look really good. So anyways, but definitely leave your thoughts below. If you guys, if you have any suggestions for techniques, how to get really good results using this stuff, please comment below. And like I said, it can be found at Hobby Lobby on the model car aisle, the diecast aisle basically. And it should be next to the, how every Hobby Lobby has a locked cabinet where they keep the airbrushes and the compressors. Should be right next to that. See, from this camera angle, it kind of gives you the illusion of that Bronco having a safari rack with the antenna. And look how awesome it looks. Look how much better that thing would look with a safari rack. Really does kind of make me want to weather my Bronco. I might do it. I don't know. I might have to do it. So there you go. That was a long video. I definitely was not planning on it being that long. Just for reference, here is a where's an M2 240Z. It really is a nice tooling. They got the stance wrong, but the tooling looks pretty good, and I love this release in black. Black on black on black. Really cool looking. And then, of course, those two cars there. I need to try to find a couple more of this one here. I think that was the second release, or it might have been the third. There was also a silver one with the yellow. Well, there was two. I think there was one with a blue racing graphic, and then one with a yellow racing graphic. And those are, they're okay. But for me, I like this one. I like the super simple civilian deco. All right, everyone. Have a good weekend. And I'll be back at some point this weekend to talk more diecast.